Hi, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Brewers. I'm your host, Chuck Freeman. Great to have you along on the weekend version, the Saturday night, Sunday night version. It was not a good start for Eric Lauer tonight. Offensively, very quiet night at AmFam Field. We'll talk about that. And yes, Easter Sunday memory of 1987. All that more coming up next on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to Locked On Brewers. I'm your host, Chuck Freeman. Been covering the Milwaukee Brewers for well over 42 years. I work for WIBA Radio in Madison, the morning sports anchor there. Most of you know me from hosting sports talk shows in the Milwaukee area for a long, long time. Also, I'm a sports reporter for the AP Radio Network. I cover the Brewers for them for over 40 years. So like you, I am a fan of the team. I grew up here, and I'm also a fan in addition to being a media member. So I have a passion for this team just like you. If you're checking us out for a first time, hit us up on Twitter. Anytime, hit me up on Twitter. I love interacting with great Brewer fans out there. Yes, we are the best fans in Major League Baseball. The Cardinals want to call themselves that. But, you know, we haven't had a pennant. We haven't had a World Series title ever. And yet we're still packing 43,000 into the house tonight. I don't care if they're giving away free automobiles. 43,000 is 43,000 at AmFam tonight, and that was great. They're giving away Giannis jerseys. 43,000 people came out and watched the Brewers. Plus, the Brewers were on a roll, but that 6-game winning streak came to an end. So drop us a note there. Drop us a note on YouTube as well. And, of course, hit subscribe, hit that little bell there. And that bell's going to alert you every time that we have a show that's dropping. So you're going to be alerted when we have the show again on weekends. We try to do them a little shorter because we know people got things to do. So I'll be providing content during the week and on weekends as well. All right, tonight, Eric Lauer was not good. He gave up 2 home run balls. They were down 6-0. The Brewers were after 3 innings, and that was game, set, and match right there. He gave 2 runs in the first inning, and then when he gave the 2-run blast to Arenado, that was it right there. I mean, that was good night. 43,000, great crowd tonight. Disappointing that they couldn't come through, but that's baseball. Brewers had just 5 hits. Jordan Montgomery gave up 3 hits through 7. He was great, and the Brewers were pretty much silenced in this game. Bases loaded a couple of times. Luke Voit struck out in the 8th inning with the bases juiced. They were already down 6-0. Yelich bases loaded earlier in the game. Couldn't come through as well. And I know some of you are just disgusted at that. I know, I get it. Today, Mitchell and Turang were on the bench, and many are wondering, how come Yelich didn't hit the Pines, and why was Mitchell and Turang on the bench? Well, Yelich did get dropped in the order. He got dropped to the 3-hole tonight. And, so be it. We'll see what happens tomorrow. But it was not a good night. Brewers' 6-game winning streak comes to an end, and they got fastball Freddie on the hill tomorrow. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit and talk about what Freddie's going to bring to the table. Hopefully a win, take 2 or 3, and then go on a West Coast road trip. And they got a West Coast road trip they're going to go on, and it starts in Seattle right away on Monday night. The show is brought to you in part by FanDuel. FanDuel, the NBA playoffs are almost here. It's a perfect time to download FanDuel. FanDuel's America's #1 sportsbook. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet does not win. So just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores, threes drained. You bet on baseball as well. I said the Brewers are once again a favorite. The Cardinals were about a 150 favorite on the board today. And I see the Brewers with Freddie Peralta on the hill. They are going to be like a 135, 140 favorite. And Jake Woodford goes for the Cardinals. So I can see how the Brewers should be a favorite in that game. So FanDuel lets you combine your bets for a chance or a bigger payout. It's called a same game parlay. So to miss a chance to make your first bet a no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com locked on. It's FanDuel.com/locked on, LOCKEDON for more. Make every moment count with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. And of course, Locked On Brewers is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm Chuck Freeman here with you 7 days a week, no days off. Let's see what some of these guys did today, and we'll check the pitching lines and how everything was. Again, it was just a quiet night for the Milwaukee Brewers. And and of course, I'm getting all these texts, and I'm trying to get rid of these texts that I'm getting here. While I pull up my my lineups today. And of course, the internet is slow as well. Here we go. For the Brewers today, Brousseau started at third base. He went 1 for 4. Adames went 1 for 3. Yelich 1 for 4. He's hitting 200 right now. Terrain came in at the end of the game. Did not get a plate appearance. Contreras went 1 for 3. Luke Voigt took it over. Brian Anderson took it over. Miller took it over. Weimer took a 1 for 4. Caratini caught tonight. He went over 2. But the story here, Eric Lauer put them in a hole. But with the Brewers, were they ever going to score in this game anyway? I mean, Lauer could have given up a couple of runs and they still would have probably lost. This is one of these nights where the Brewers just couldn't get anything going. But again, bases loaded twice, but they couldn't get the big hit in this game. Lauer goes 4 innings, 7 hits, 6 runs, 4 strikeouts, and the 2 home run balls. Varlin pitched 2 scoreless innings. Guerra 2 scoreless innings. And Piamps a scoreless inning, gave up a couple of hits. So the bullpen, once again, is just fantastic. Again, no pressure in that situation. 6-0, but still, the bullpen was pretty good again tonight. But with Lauer, this is something that we feared. Again, some days you're going to get good Lauer. Some days you're going to get bad Lauer. Good Lauer was last Sunday against the Cubs, and this was bad Lauer tonight, dropping the Brewers to 6-2. Did mention yesterday, Jackson Chourio, rated now the number 1 prospect in Major League Baseball for Baseball America. And when Baseball America is ranking this, Baseball America, Baseball Pipeline, MLB Pipeline, those are 2 major sources right there. So when Jackson Chourio is the number 1, when they say Jackson Chourio is the number 1 player, number 1 prospect in all of baseball, I mean, that's pretty telling right there. They gave him the big signing bonus when he was a kid. They did that with Gilbert Lara too, and that backfired against him. But I don't think this is here. Jackson Chourio, we're going to see him up, and obviously it's too soon now. He's just turned 19, but we'll see how he does in Double-A. And as he worked his way up the system, some of you saw him play with the Timber Rattlers last year, and he was up there, and he was raking last year. 30 doubles, like 20 triples, batted .288 total for the entire season. So that was a nice honor that Jackson Chourio is the Baseball America's number 1 prospect. All right. As for the game tomorrow, Jake Woodford is on the mound for the Cardinals. He was not good in his first start. He was terrible. Went 4 1/3, gave up 3 home runs. His control was all over the place. He's a guy who, about 6'4", shuttled back between St. Louis and their AAA team, Memphis, a few times last year. He's in there because Wainwright is out of the rotation. So Woodford makes the start for the Cardinals, a guy who, if he pitches like he did against the Blue Jays last week, the Brewers can get to this guy, especially at AmFam Field. Be curious to see if the roof will be open tomorrow with the nice temperatures. I heard we could be touching maybe 70 degrees tomorrow. Speaking of Easter Sunday, I'm going to get to that Easter Sunday 1987 game right after this. Our new sponsor is So Rare, a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. Unlike other fantasy based platforms, So Rare managers truly own their own fantasy experience, collecting, buying, selling, and competing with player cards against global opponents to win epic awards. The more you win, the more you advance collecting increasingly powerful cards and accessing next-level competition and awards. MLB game weeks happen twice weekly, a span of 3 or 4 day cycle. At the end of game weeks, So Rare MLB managers will rank at the top or near the top of their leaderboards, win a variety of rewards, including scarcity cards, game tickets, merchandise, signed jerseys, VIP experience. Head to sorare.com/lockedon. So Rare, S-O Rare, SoRare.com to draft your team of free player cards and get your lineup today. SoRare.com/lockedon to start playing today. And that is a terrific game, a new sponsor right here on the Locked On Brewers, on Locked On the Locked On Network and on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, we are here every day. All right, that 1987 game, the Brewers got off to an 11-0 start that year. Easter Sunday was a nice day out there, too. A little windy. Wind was blowing in from left field at the old county stadium. 29,000 fans. Man, 29,000. But that's where Brewer baseball was in the 80s. 29,000, that was a big day on a Sunday. You wouldn't get 43,000 like they had tonight. Even on a nice day at County Stadium on a Sunday or on a Sunday in April or a Sunday in May. That's just where Brewer baseball was at, and that's why some people were a little apprehensive about building AmFam Field because crowd levels were so low. But obviously, when they built the ballpark, that changed dramatically. And they had a little bit of, didn't have a little success. They were terrible when they first started off at AmFam Field. And finally, about 2005, little bright light there. But back at the old county stadium days in the late 80s, 29,000 on a Sunday in April was great. So what happened on Easter Sunday, they were down 4-1. They had won 11 in a row. 4-1 heading into the bottom of the ninth inning. Wind blowing in from left field. Jeff Russell was the pitcher for the Rangers, their closer. Rob Deere hit one 440 feet against a stiff wind to left field, a 3-run blow, and that tied the game at 4. And 2 batters later, Dale Swaim hit one into the Brewer bullpen in right field, and the Brewers won the game 6-4 and extended their winning streak to 12 in a row. I know some of you weren't around then, but that is 36 years old. I was a student at EW Eau Claire. I was working for a radio station up there, and I was also covering for AP. And I came down, covered the weekend series, went to the game, covered it, did my reports, got in my car about 6 o'clock, and drove back to Eau Claire and went to class the next morning. But I was out there. It was fantastic. And the streak would eventually end in Chicago a couple of days later. But 12 in a row to start the season. Still got the news. Oh, yes. And they made Sports Illustrated because of that. Brewing up a storm, 12 in a row. And they got off to a 20-3 start there. Rock was the catcher on that team. He was one of the catchers back up to B.J. Surhoff. But in that streak, the no-hitter by Juan Nieves. But this Brewing up a storm, they were on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and which was rare for them to be on the cover of SI back then. But it was pretty cool. And they got off to a 20-3 start and did not make the playoffs. This is when there was only 2 divisions in each league, and there was no wild card. But the Brewers, I still maintain, I think they won like 92 games that year. They had one of the best teams in baseball. The Twins, who had a worse record than them, won the American League West, and they ended up being the World Series champs that year. But I still think overall the Brewers had the best team in baseball. That was the year Molitor had the 39-game hitting streak. That was team streak. But team streak was started off with the 12 in a row right here with Deere rounding the bases and getting on the cover of SI. All right, that's going to do it. That's going to do it for the weekend version of Locked On Brewers. Appreciate you all taking some time out today. I know you got a busy schedule and all that, but we're going to do these on weekends. I did this one last night. I did one after the weekend games last week, and the weekend ones are proven to be popular, so we're going to keep on doing them. So that's what we're going to keep on doing because the Brewers are playing every day, and the Brewers, there's a demand out there for them. This isn't 1987 anymore where there's 29,000 people coming out for an 12-0 team. There would have been 43,000 out there. There's 43,000 out there for a 5-1, 6-1 team tonight. So they gave away jerseys, I understand, but it's a different time in Brewer baseball. No question about it. I'm Chuck Freeman. Brewers wrap up the series with the Cardinals. Fastball Freddie on the hill. He looked great in his last outing on opening day. He pitched 6 innings of strong baseball. Freddie got through some early trouble against the Mets, but the Brewers won that game handily 10-0. And Freddie makes his second start on Sunday afternoon. I'll be out there. I'll be walking around with my 11-year-old Brady before the game. going up to the Sea League experience. I always take him up there to get a little look at the Sea League experience. So he's probably seen it like 30 times so far, but I'm going to pound in baseball history and our great baseball team. Well, the franchise that we love. They're not great, but the franchise we love and the city that we love and the baseball history that we've had in Milwaukee dating back to the Braves. He's going to continue to learn about that. I take him there to the Sea League experience before every game. And we're going to be up there again tomorrow. So anyway, we'll be talking to you after the game tomorrow as well, dropping this tomorrow night. I'm Chuck Freeman. Thanks for listening. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.